Mitch Keller and Eric Fetty were locked in a pitching duel, and then a whole other ball game was played after they left. Big performances, questionable decisions, and some clutch defensive plays led to the Pirates winning a crucial early season series against the Redbirds. And we're going to talk about all of it next on Locked On Pirates.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Pirates your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And let's start at the beginning, the pitching, because this really was almost a tale of two games, right? The very first part of this game was just Mitch Keller and Eric Fetty shoving. Let's start with Eric Fetty because let's give the Cardinals their flowers before we take them all away as we continue talking about how this series played out. Eric Fetty, 6 innings pitched of no-hit baseball, 4 walks, ran his pitch count up, only got 2 strikeouts, but he kept the Pirates' bats completely quiet today. Really didn't even threaten a hit. The only one who came close, I think, was Xiangxie Sheng, who made his major league debut today and only got 2 at-bats. One of them, well, 3 at-bats technically. One of them was a reach on an error, caught stealing by, a hair. I mean, boy, it was a great tag. Got his arm like maybe a split second before his foot touched the bag, or else they would have had a stolen base. But I digress. Eric Fetty was great. And then really the Cardinals bullpen continued that. Phil Maton, Leahy, Fernandez, Romero. And then you get all the way to the extra innings and Ryan Helsey, continues it and keeps it moving along. Steven Matz for a while looked like it was going to be okay. Ended up giving up a tying base hit to Tommy Pham after the Cardinals had pulled ahead. And Chris Roycroft, who gave up 3 runs the other night to the Pirates, ended up getting walked off on a Joey Bart. I guess it's going to go as a single. Probably would have been a double in a real game. But bases were loaded for him, and he fought back to do so. Yeah, the Cardinals really pitched the hell out of this game. I thought they were in control most of it. We'll get into later in the show why it didn't feel like anybody really wanted to win this one as we start talking about some questionable management decisions and whatnot. But Pirates pitching. Mitch Keller, 7.1 innings of 4-hit baseball, no runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. He was in total and complete command. In fact, I think Mitch Keller started looking stronger as the game went on. He had hit his pitch count for sure. It was time to bring him out. He was starting to overthrow some of his spin. And it was definitely a good move to bring in another pitcher. Caleb Ferguson picked up right there. Went for an inning, overlapped into the next one. Dennis Santana went for 2 innings. Ryan Barucki from there, and Justin Lawrence wound up finishing it off. And really, really good performance by everyone there. I thought, all in all, this is one of the cleanest performances from this bullpen so far this year. They got some great defensive plays to help bail them out and really kind of make a go of it. But the back end of that bullpen, it's starting to take shape a little bit. I'm not saying that they have the hammer they need. They don't. They don't have a dominant closer. But you have to like what you've seen from Justin Lawrence. Justin Lawrence, man, that sweeper is a beautiful pitch. And I saw him do something that I never saw him do in Colorado. And granted, I didn't watch every game that he pitched in Colorado, but obviously I watched some video of him. I was really interested in him when he got DFA'd. I kind of couldn't believe he got DFA'd from Colorado, but the sweeper was coming in front door to right-handed pitchers. Like, if you've ever played the game, which I'd imagine most of you are listening to this show, you've played it at some level. I don't care what kind of pitch it is. if they can throw it at you and have it curve over the strike zone, it's a hard pitch to hit. That pitch can get turned on. It's a dangerous pitch if you have a really aware and talented hitter, and they've got to be tuned into it. They've got to be waiting for that pitch. That's the only way that pitch gets hit. You've got to have quick hands, and you've got to turn on it, and you've got to know it's coming. That's hard to do with Justin Lawrence, because he could just as easily pop that little sinker in there and catch you, taking a hack at something the bottom's gonna drop out of, or maybe it hits you as you're swinging, which is the worst of both worlds. You get the hit by pitch, but you don't get to go to first because you swung at it. So there's a lot to like about Justin Lawrence. I've really enjoyed watching the way he's performed. Caleb Ferguson continues to be flawless. Caleb Ferguson has now had 7 innings in 7 outings, and he has not given up a run. That's well spent $3 million thus far. Caleb Ferguson has been completely untouched. Dennis Santana shoved 2 innings. A little surprised to see that. 2 innings out of Dennis Santana. Didn't see an awful lot of that last year when they used him. That said, he's been a very trusted member of this back end. He and Caleb Ferguson kind of overlapped a little bit on an inning, and then they did it again with Dennis Santana, let him overlap into Ryan Barucki. So interesting the way they handled it. Again, if you really look at the bullpen right now and what they have to work with, that's probably the best of what they have, isn't it? I mean, like you start thinking about like Tim Meza. Okay, he's been all right too. Joey Wentz has been okay. He's been mostly called on in like these extra inning affairs and or late in games when they're down a couple runs. But he's performed okay. All in all, their bullpen, the real problems all season long have been Colin Holderman and David Bednar. And speaking of David Bednar, before we, move on to our next segment, David Bednar has had 2 outings now in AAA Indianapolis. The numbers are good. I hope they don't fall for it too quickly, because if you watch him, which I am that much of a sicko for baseball that I have watched him, he's still throwing things I think will get pelted up here. The curve keeps hanging, if you ask me. I mean, they're talking about it like it's a purposeful pitch that he's trying to leave high in the zone, but every instinct in me says don't hang a curveball and don't leave a curveball high ever. So I don't see the wisdom in that, and I don't see the wisdom in praising him for getting outs with it in AAA from guys who, quite frankly, aren't used to seeing a curveball hung. They're used to seeing guys bounce them in front of them or, miss the strike zone altogether with a curveball. So you got a little bit of an advantage if you can land a curveball in general at AAA. Guys just don't see them a lot. The splitter's getting some swings in AAA. I'm okay with that. But it's going to get spit on in MLB. It always has. It always will. And until he can start hitting the bottom of the zone with it, which I still don't see, it's not that effective of a pitch unless you get people biting on that high fastball, which the fastball is still what it was. Maybe he's placing it slightly better. It's really hard to tell from AAA TV angles. All I'm saying is don't get fooled. Don't think that you have to bring him back up right away to placate his ego or whatever. I would take the gravity with which you sent him down seriously, except that you don't really want to go through that again. You don't want to have another conversation with David Bednar. Hey, we're going to send you down again. It still isn't working. That's when you start like having a failed experiment altogether. Leave him down there for a few weeks. Let him really work through it. Let him face some guys that, are harder to face. Like, let him face some teams that have some batters that you actually think are going to be in the bigs real soon. Force him to get outs with his problem pitch. Make him go back to spring training ethos. Make him use a fastball exclusively. Damn the numbers. It doesn't matter. You got to get him right, and you have to fix what's wrong. You can't just bring him back up here and assume because he got AAA outs, he's going to get major league outs. Let's not be that naive. Let's take another break. I want to talk about some defensive excellence, and we're going to talk about some weird decisions and an injury update. Won't that be fun? When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. That's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure that they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients has also partnered with two-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF-certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. Whether you're recovering after a workout or need an energy boost, their grass-fed whey protein and pre-workout delivery give real results. Visit justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off. And for more wellness tips, follow at Just Ingredients on Instagram. All right, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. You probably know the routine by now. Segment 2, I'm going to ask you, could you please subscribe if you haven't already? Make sure you do. Give me a like. Make sure you comment, especially today. I'll tell you why in segment 3. Make sure that you comment today. Let's talk about key defensive plays because the pitching was great, but without some of these defensive performances, it don't look so great. In fact, it never gets to the extra inning part of this tilt to begin with. Early on, Andrew McCutchen showed some giddy up in the outfield and got to a gapper out there in right center. Really showed some hustle up against the Clemente wall. Made a really nice catch to save a run. Ke'Bryan Hayes is going to be his own category, so let's get to him at the end. Let's save the best for last, huh? Andy Rodriguez and Joey Bart have this situation happen where there's a pop-up in the infield. Joey Bart loses sight of it. He never recaptures sight of it. Andy Rodriguez comes breaking in to try to make the catch, actually got his glove on it, and then, my God, they had an NFL-style collision at home plate between Joey Bart and Andy Rodriguez. Didn't make the catch. Ball falls on the ground. Ke'Bryan Hayes is standing there watching all this carnage. And meanwhile, a St. Louis Cardinal is trying to score. Like, we're in the late stages of this game. It's tied at 0-0. This is a big moment in this ball game. Ke'Bryan Hayes, I have to talk about him before he even becomes the main character here, picks up this ball that's loose and just dives to tag this runner coming towards the plate. An unbelievable play. The presence of mind to watch two of your teammates slam head on into each other and pick up a ball and get an out there at home. Wow. Do you think we can forgive him for the sunflower seed incident now? I think maybe we can, right? Ke'Bryan Hayes has kind of done enough. I mean, that was a beautiful play. Thank God nobody got hurt, at least on the surface. Everybody seems to be okay from that. But, yeah, Ke'Bryan Hayes made a heck of a play right there. Chang played a good shortstop today in his major league debut. Made a couple throws to first that just reminded me of how easy and effortless and free it can look when you have a smooth fielding shortstop. We just talked about Isaiah Kiner-Falefa's funky delivery in yesterday's show, where he almost looks like a cricket player trying to throw that ball over to first base sometimes. And Yeah, it was great to see a real shortstop play shortstop. He really, really looked good. I wish they would give him a little bit more opportunity here. I hope they do. I really do. I think he's got a chance to at least be good enough to field there. And as we talk about some people that are struggling later, I really think there's an opportunity to improve what IKF does while keeping his bat in the lineup and get Chang a real opportunity to kind of get his sea legs here a little bit. You bother calling a kid up, you want him to play every day, let him play. I think there's room for that here. Now let's circle back and talk about Brian Hayes, because that was one play he made. He made another beautiful play where he came charging in on a slow grounder, just grabbed it with his bare hand and flung it over in one motion to first base to get an extremely, extremely speedy Mason Wynn. My goodness, what a play. What a play. Later on, he goes, he grounds, he picks up a ground ball to third base, runner straight just a little bit off of third. And instead of continuing to go home, he stutter started and looked like he was going to try to go back to third. And instead of trying to do anything else, this is runners at first and second already, Hayes just walks over and tags him. Like, he gets a key out in a key situation to really kind of keep the game reasonable. It was just such a killer play. Brian Hayes, when healthy, is the best defender maybe in the league, period. I know we talk about third base and everything. He's a great defender at third base. He really is. But just his overall worth as a defender, I put it up there with anybody in the league. I don't think there's too many better. You might find a couple center fielders and have an argument with me, but I don't think there's too many that are that skilled and impact the game as much as he does. Just the brains, the smarts, the auto reflex, the quick release, the sureness of the glove, the range, the being in the right place at the right time mentality, just everything he does on the baseball field is impressive. It really is. It's nice to see the bat kind of show up and he's starting to, knock those singles to right field again. Brian Hayes being an effective player should be a bigger story than it is this season. The only reason it hasn't been is because the bat's still rather pedestrian. He really needs to up it just a little bit. But defensively, man, there's no questioning. Best defender in the league, if you ask me. Tommy Pham. Boy, much maligned Tommy Pham. Big single to tie the game up in extras and extend it a little further. Great throw. Great throw on a really, really questionable call to send the guy from St. Louis. I don't know what Pop Warner was thinking. To send the guy to home from third on that kind of a single, Tommy Pham was essentially like 20 feet behind shortstop when he picked up the ground ball single. And I mean, really, it was a great throw. It was right on the money and everything, but it was a throw from like 20 feet behind shortstop. Those guys do that just to warm up. So we put a strike on Joey Bart. To Joey Bart's credit, he grabbed it and he didn't mess around with the tag. There was no getting around him. And again, the game was saved. Tommy Pham's done that a couple times now, saved games with his glove, which is funny because he has not hit. These two managers just seemed like they didn't know what they were doing today. A lot of their substitutions were weird. There was an odd pinch hit for Sheshang Sheng late in the game. And they used Valdez. It didn't make any sense. It was a lefty for a lefty. It was a young lefty with speed with one out versus a lefty that we kind of know as home run or nothing and mostly nothing in Valdez so far. It didn't make a lot of sense to me to use that card right then. It didn't make a lot of sense to me to weaken your defense right there. It didn't make a lot of sense to me in general. Marmol was no better. I mean, he brings in Lake and Baker in a situation where he knows if he strikes out, he's going to be the runner at second base in extra innings the next time they get an opportunity, if they get one. Like, you can't make this stuff up. Then he doesn't pinch run for him. Not that he had great options to pinch run for him, but man, I mean, you're not going to get much slower than that. Weird decision to do that. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. We need to talk about injury news, and I think I'm going to hold it for the last segment. Let's take another break. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the nets. With tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on. You never know who's going to win. Look how close Bobby Moe came the other night. I mean, if that didn't get you excited, I don't know what will. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. All right, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. And before we get to our last subject, with no game tonight, I want to do another Ask Me Anything for Friday's show. We'll preview the weekend series against the Reds, and then I'll spend the entire rest of the show answering your questions. Hit me right here in the comments or on X or Facebook. Last show was very well received, so let's keep those thoughtful questions coming in. Even if you stump me, we'll discuss the topic and we'll have a good time. I really enjoy answering those questions, and it really shows me what you guys want to hear about. And as long as the Pirates are going to have an off day every week, we could do one of these every week. And I think they're a lot of fun for everybody. Really is a good way to keep you guys involved in the show and keep it interactive. It's a good thing. Injury news. Got to do that stuff, right? Especially when there's a lot of it. Nick Gonzalez is back to putting weight on his ankle. Sounds like 10 days from now he's going to take another test, and if it's good, he should be able to go on a rehab assignment. Reynolds is starting to throw from 70 feet, maybe a few more days, I would guess, and then we'll start seeing him put out in the field, I would think, which will be quite a relief because this team could really use putting Andrew McCutchen's bat in the lineup a little bit more. And they really could use it as part of the rotation to kind of keep Bart and Endy on the field too a little bit more. They have to rest them now just to keep Endy as the backup catcher. And it would be nice to have that little rotation of being able to throw Bart at DH if you want to keep his bat in the lineup, because he does still have one of their more consistent bats. So that would be a kind of a big thing to get Reynolds back to full strength. Nick York is back to throwing. He should be back soon in AAA. That's a good development as well. Spencer Horwitz is starting to take grounders and BP against his teammates. I would imagine that he will be going on a rehab assignment soon. Sounds like he's pain-free. Sounds like he doesn't have any restrictions in the field at all. That's great news. He's throwing the ball. He's catching the ball. He's swinging the bat. Spencer Horwitz should be part of the equation sooner than later. So that's some injury news, and it's all relatively good. I would give you an update on Jared Jones. All I know is that he had a pain-free scan. So no new injury was shown, and it looks as though he's progressing well. I believe they have another scan planned for, I think it's 15 days from now. And then we should get another update on Jared Jones. And I would imagine if it's clear, you'll probably be looking at him going on some kind of a rehab assignment, which will put him on a trajectory that we'll be able to forecast finally. If you start getting to that point, which is great news. You get Jared Jones back in the mix and things really start to look a little bit better in this rotation. That's obviously not the situation you want to have Andy Rodriguez sitting there hurt. Now, or not Andy Rodriguez, Jared Jones. I'm sorry. I was thinking about the next thing I wanted to talk about. All right, let's talk about some Pirates hitters that are just not meeting the mark. Okay, we've had quite a few of them. Obviously, nobody's really looking like Babe Ruth quite yet. And maybe they never will. But let's start with some guys who absolutely are trouble. Tommy Pham, I just talked about some great defensive plays, and yes, he extended this one. And if he hadn't, obviously we'd be talking a different story here. I'd be talking about how they lost the series to the Cardinals, and we're struggling, against the NL Central already. Instead, they win the series largely because of Tommy Pham. He definitely played a role in that, but he's batting 125. He's tied for third in at bats on this team. He's batting 125. That can't continue. Adam Frazier is tied for sixth in at bats on this team. He's batting 158. He was 0 in this entire series against the Cardinals. He's playing an awful lot of baseball, and the Pirates have a way they might be able to fix this. You could move Isaiah Kiner-Falefa to second. That would solve some of the defensive issues they've had. And you can play Cheng. I'm not saying do it every day. I'm not saying bench Adam Frazier forever. I'm just saying Adam Frazier doesn't need to play all but one of your first stretch of games. And I know it was unexpected. I know it's because of Gonzalez being injured, but the situation is the situation. 158, batting every single day. I think he was 0 for 5 today. You can't have it. Jack Sawinski, 120, 10th in at-bats. Leading him off twice in a row was funny. It feels like they don't want him to face a lefty no matter what. He had to play center field today because of O'Neal Cruz. I should have mentioned in the injury update. He got beamed on the finger. It sounds like he's day-to-day. I think they were just wanting to give him 2 days off in a row to make sure that the finger was completely cool. They're going to put him back in, and I would imagine he would start against the Reds on Friday. I don't think that's going to be an issue if I'm just reading tea leaves. I should have also mentioned they misdiagnosed Brian Reynolds' injury as a tricep. It's actually some kind of muscle thing aside from the tricep. So whatever. It's weird that they would misdiagnose it. It's weirder that they would admit it. That said, none of us are doctors, and we all try to play one on TV when we start talking about sports, don't we? Alexander Canario, it's early. He's only had 14 plate appearances, batting 071. Again, the average means very little when you've barely had any plate appearances, but he just does not look like he knows what's going on at the plate at all. And on the base paths, he's been a nightmare. I don't know what he was doing. They sent him from third. It was probably an ill-advised send, but his turn was so wide, he looked like a NASCAR driver, and he ran into the wall like going around turn 3. Made no sense whatsoever. I don't understand what he was doing. He almost got himself out again on a quick ground ball where they threw home in extra innings to get a force out. And for some reason, this guy runs back to second base instead of continuing on to third like it wasn't a force situation. And he's lucky that the Cardinals weren't paying any attention because they stink too. So he made it all the way to third base. Thankfully, or that game's over in another way as well. It's just not been a pretty picture. And their talent acquisition at this level is sad so far. I know you got to take swings and whatnot when you're a small market, but bro, your swings can look better than that. They got to do a little bit better here. They're getting somebody that looks like they've got some kind of lightning worth catching. And Brian Reynolds leads the team in at bats with 51. He's batting 196 right now. Not good enough. He's had the injury situation, so you want to give him a little bit of grace. But this team's just going to go nowhere. If he is hitting that and O'Neal Cruz is hitting like 210 or whatever, they're not going to do anything unless those two are stars. They have to play like stars. This offense, no matter what comes back from the injury list, no matter what you think is out there in a trade, even if they got some magical great player, they don't have enough to patch holes on this team if Brian Reynolds and O'Neal Cruz aren't absolute nailed on baseball stars. They have to be. They have to be. It's very early to pretend that they're not going to be, or their seasons are in trouble or something. I'm just saying those two have to be better. That's the long and short of it. The Pirates are 5-8 now. The Reds are playing, in San Francisco, finishing up a series, and they could very well have the same exact record when these two square off. And it could be a fight to get out of the basement this weekend. It's going to be a fight to get out of the basement one way or another this weekend, because even if they're down a game in the loss column to the Reds, it's going to be on the table. It's an important series. I can't wait to talk about it tomorrow. I'm really excited. Please do make sure you get your questions in. Let's have a really good AMA. I think those are a blast to do. And the questions, I'm always impressed by the intelligence of the questions. You guys are a smarter fan base than you ever get credit for. And I love that my listeners in particular tend to not come with, tell me why they should fire Nutting. I mean, I don't think that's boring. Everybody knows why we should fire Nutting. Ask me baseball questions. We'll talk about baseball. This is a baseball show. That's what I want to do. Thank you for making Locked On Pirates your first listen today and every day. Your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And before I just leave it at what, Locked On wanted me to say about that show, let me explain to you what it is, because it's really worth checking out. If you like old Sports Center, where they would just go through all the games of the day and give you kind of like the quick synopsis of how each one of them ended, well, that's what you get, except you get it from all the Locked On hosts, and they stitch them all together. Those little quick videos that I've been putting out after games, all of those are being done by all of the hosts, and they're all being compiled into one big game. So you can sit down and listen to one podcast or watch one podcast on YouTube and just almost have like a little Sports Center experience where you just kind of get a quick synopsis of what happened in all the matchups that happened that day from all the different perspectives of all the hosts all over the country. It's a good time. Check it out. I hope you like it. Let me know what you think of it if you do watch it. Tell me that in the comments too. I'd really appreciate it. I think everybody enjoys the feedback of things like that. So it's good stuff. AMA tomorrow. Let's have a good one. Stay locked, everybody.